All right, my beloved Madridistas, welcome back to Madrid. Welcome back to the channel. It's quite late here. Okay, let me give you my thoughts on the Benfica Real Madrid match, which, for those of you that didn't do the watch along with me, this had nothing to do with the previous match. Look, I suspected we were going to win, and I suspected that this was going to be an easier match than what we saw 3 weeks ago, but I didn't expect this. This was such a lackluster match on the part of both teams. It was just very interrupted, very distracted. It was, look, we won the match, but I think in a very, very unconvincing way. I mean, I feel like the players, felt very satisfied at the end of the match, kind of with having won, but it didn't really kind of do it for me. I mean, this was, I think we played probably 20, 25 decent minutes in the entirety of the match. The match was totally interrupted with distractions and racial insults to Vini, and then Vini talking to the ref, and then red cards to Mourinho's technical team. It was an interrupted, kind of slow mess, and it just didn't have the intensity that you would have expected. I mean, there was much more intensity in the match we played 3 weeks ago, which was actually less important than this one. I mean, this is the one where you would have expected the players to really, really dig into it. I think this was, I think, very poor. I don't like the way that we behaved once we were in the lead. We had, let's just start with the lineup. The lineup was absolutely predictable. This was exactly the lineup that I expected. Courtois in goal, Carreras on the left, Trent on the right, Hausen and Rudiger as center backs. And then you had it was a 4-4-2. And I thought it would have been a diamond where Arda would have been playing the number 10 position. So the players on the pitch were exactly the ones I expected, but they weren't playing in the positions that I expected because Arda spent a lot of time on the right. I thought he would play number 10, but that wasn't the case. He just spent a lot of time on the right. Eventually, he did drift towards the middle. But in the center of the pitch, we had, Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Fede, and Arda. And then up front, Vini and Mbappe, who had an absolutely terrible night because, Kylian was just completely disconnected from the rest of the squad. So in terms of the lineup, it was the players I expected, but like I say, not exactly in the formation I expected. We were a lot more affected every time Arda drifted to the middle, and I just have no idea why Arbeloa told him to play on the right wing. It's just not a winger for me, and I think it's very ineffective. I mean, we lose a lot of quality when you stick Arda on the right wing. The first half, I think, was very, very poor. Okay, the first 20, 30 minutes were very tentative. Neither team wanted to risk or take too much risk with the ball. So it was very slow. It was alternating possession, but really kind of crappy. We weren't making runs off the ball. There was nobody to pass the ball to. It just felt like the ball was going from foot to foot, but nobody was running into space. It was not very dynamic football at all. But Benfica, on the other hand, wasn't doing anything either. So it was kind of like watching two sort of really slow, lethargic teams, and it wasn't exciting at all. And I understand that this is the Champions League knockout round, and of course, you're going to be very careful with the ball, and you don't want to take risks. And I understand that Madrid wanted to take the sting out of the match at the beginning because you got the crowd and all the adrenaline. So when you play away from home in the Champions League, you kind of want to be careful in the first minutes that you take a little bit of the sting out of the stadium and the adrenaline, because you know that the opposition is going to play very intensely. I didn't feel like any of that was there. Benfica wasn't particularly aggressive. When we had the ball, we looked a little bit lethargic, very predictable. The ball circulation was terribly slow, and there was just no intensity. We were totally lacking the intensity that we saw 3 weeks ago. And then nothing really happened, to be honest, until the last 10 minutes of the first half. And the last 10 minutes of the first half, all of a sudden we started to play proper football. You started to see much quicker ball circulation, especially in the final third. A lot faster circulation, more combination play, finally players making runs between defenders, trying to get behind defenders, because we didn't do any of that for the first 30 minutes. So we really only had 10 minutes at the end of the first half where we did create chance after chance after chance, and I could not believe, I was doing the watch along and I was commenting as we were going. I'm like, how could we miss these things? Kylian missed some howlers, things that he normally puts in the back of the net that he's been scoring all year, but not tonight. We missed so many chances. It was absolutely crazy. Now, but we did play 10 good minutes at the end of the first half, and I thought, okay, well, it looks like the nerves are off. We've shaken off the nerves. It looks like now we're going to get a lot more dynamic football. So because the last 10 minutes looked like we were finally taking the game seriously and playing with energy. And then the second half starts, and it was nothing like the last 10 minutes of the first half. It was back to this kind of lethargic, kind of slow in possession. Our long passing was awful in this match. The long distribution, especially from the back, was appalling. The long balls out of Rudiger and Courtois and Howson were just, even Trent, like this, the passes were just not, it was not happening tonight. It was just, kind of slow, lethargic, and very, very imprecise. Of course, the best thing that came out of the match was the goal by Vini. And the goal by Vini was truly an absolutely phenomenal goal. And this is what Vini brings, okay? He's a guy that'll try and try over and over. And just when you're getting too irritated with him, just when you're losing your patience with him, he does something absolutely magnificent and changes the game. This is the nature of the beast. This is the type of player that Vini is, and this is what he brings. You have to be patient with him, but he does have the potential to do something amazing and just pull a rabbit out of the hat, because the goal was absolutely spectacular. We then had all of the distractions in the second half with the racist insults to Vini, who had to go talk to the ref. They had to pause the match. Then they, got red card to one of Mourinho's assistants. Eventually, Mourinho got a second yellow, and he was kicked out. There was a lot of, interruptions with this. Every time Vini got the ball, he was fouled. The crowd was kind of going crazy, insulting him. Then they started throwing objects onto the pitch, which again interrupted the play. Look, as if this game wasn't slow and annoying and boring enough, on top of it, you have these ridiculous interruptions that were just totally unnecessary. It is completely ludicrous that you'd still have kind of the issue of racism in 2026. But I mean, unfortunately, it's still the case. I'm very happy that UEFA took this seriously, because I think it's a serious issue. The issue of racism is still, I think there's too much permissiveness in Spain, for example. I've made a lot of videos about Vini and the issue of racism in Spain. But it's amazing to me that this stuff still goes on. But anyway, the ref handled it, and how he thought he should handle it. But after the goal, we had about 10 minutes where we looked okay. We looked like we're in possession, we're in control. I thought Benfica would bite back, right? I mean, you just conceded a goal at home. You're in the knockout stage of the Champions League. I thought, okay, well, get ready. They're going to come after us. They didn't. It was just slow, lethargic, very imprecise. And Real Madrid took advantage of that, and we had possession. We moved our lines up. The counters weren't working, but when we moved up as a block, we were okay, when we moved up as a block in possession. But that only lasted about 10 minutes after the goal. After that, it just was horrible. It was awful to watch. We were just it felt like we were playing for the clock. It felt like we were, the ball was burning our feet, in the sense that we were sort of very quick to boot the ball away, very quick to sort of panic, and that generated very, very imprecise play. So some of the long distributions that came out of the back looking for that run up front were terrible. They were just terrible. It was so imprecise. We lost the ball every single time we did that. We lost the ball, and we had players booting the ball away that didn't have to, because they had plenty of support short. There were situations where a player would control the ball and there was nobody around him to press him, and still we would panic and boot the ball away, which is completely unnecessary when you're not being pressed. You have time to control the ball, bring the ball down, and you can move it slowly. You can play short and move the lines up slowly. But no, we tried over and over, these sort of long passes that were all terribly imprecise, and we just kept coughing up the ball. Benfica would then get the ball and try to attack, but they looked pathetic. They looked completely harmless. They had absolutely no teeth. This had nothing to do with the Benfica that we saw 3 weeks ago. Nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing. I honestly don't know how a team can go from sort of night to day like this, or day to night, I should say. So Benfica would get the ball, and then they would try, but it was very imprecise. They ended up shooting the ball over the bar. It was just pathetic. And then when we got the ball, we would cough it up very, very quickly, because we were just playing very imprecise football. So as the minutes went by in the second half, you could feel that we were just kind of trying to wear the match down and kind of play it out. And that's really disappointing to see, because Benfica looked really soft. And I think that if we had played with just a little bit of intensity and a little bit of organization and a little bit of patience, we would have scored more goals. But we weren't. We were playing sloppy, kind of impatient football. We were getting rid of the ball too quickly. It was just very frustrating to see. I mean, this leaves us in a situation where we're going to take the 0-1 back to the Bernabeu, and technically speaking, it's a very favorable result. But Real Madrid has a history of, when we take victories back to the Bernabeu in the Champions League, we have a tendency to fall asleep and get lazy and complacent, and then we find ourselves with a gun against our head, okay? Remember Chelsea and Juve, we go there, we play a great game, and then we come back, And because we're dozy and lazy and kind of comfortable, we end up finding ourselves, down 0-3, and then we're scrambling to save the day. And my worry is that we're taking an advantageous score back to the Bernabeu, but I'm worried that we're going to get the dozy, lethargic, overly comfortable version of Real Madrid when we go back, because what I saw on the pitch tonight wasn't great. Okay, there was no intensity there. We were very imprecise with the ball. Arda, like I say, shouldn't be playing on the right. He should play as number 10. There felt that there was a little bit of tactical confusion, if you ask me. Our ball circulation was confused. You never really knew who was driving the play. It was just, I don't know. It was nobody really stood out in this match. I mean, Vini was really, trying to make things happen on the left and was probably our most sort of vibrant player in terms of trying to create. But Kylian was completely disconnected. Kylian, nothing worked tonight, and he didn't combine with anybody. He was on his own, trying to take 4 people on, losing the ball. This was just, I don't know. This was just one of those matches where, you win because Benfica was terrible. I think if this version of Real Madrid had played against a better side, we would have gotten slaughtered. And that is kind of why I walk away from this match with a really bad taste in my mouth, because I'm like, okay, we won, but what the hell was that? I mean, if that had been Bayern Munich or PSG or something, or Arsenal, we'd be dead in the water. So I don't know. I come away with this. I know that the morale in the squad is probably quite high now. You had Barca lose in the La Liga the other day. And of course, now we're top of the Liga and we get a victory away from home against a team that slaughtered us recently. So I know that they probably feel really good about things. I don't feel particularly good about things, because this didn't look like a Real Madrid that had any consistency in their play. I don't think that there was any tactical consistency. I felt like, so what were we playing? Were we playing a counter or were we playing in possession? I don't know, because we kind of drifted in and out, but it seemed very confused. A lot of the passes from the back were appalling. And I don't know if those are Arbeloa instructions, but man, we need to recalibrate that and rethink that. I think long passing is very effective when you're combining it with short play, when you have the option of moving the lines up and playing as a block in possession, but sometimes you surprise with a long ball and a counter. That makes a lot of sense, but I didn't feel that there was any kind of pre-planning in this. In some of the counterattacks, like only 2 or 3 of the players would run, and like the second line of players was way far back there, like walking. Like it felt like sometimes they would all run, and then in the next counterattack, only 2 of them would run, and it just felt like, well, wait, what's the system here? Like there was no consistency in what we were trying to do. And once again, it was a match that Real Madrid won because we have very good individual players. We have, Vini just pulled a rabbit out of it. I mean, this was a spectacular goal from a player who's extremely talented, very kind of inconsistent and very distracted and all that, but very talented, and very occasionally that talent saves you. And that's the kind of match it was. We won because, we have talent, and sometimes that talent saves the day. But this was not the kind of collective play that's going to get you anywhere. I mean, this team would have been destroyed by anybody reasonably competent. So I don't know. I'm walking away from this with mixed emotions. I'm obviously very happy that we won. But I don't know. I feel kind of unconvinced. I'm a little bit wary about what's going to happen in the return leg. I almost feel like if we had lost by a goal or drawn the match, I could kind of bet on an aggressive Real Madrid in the return leg. My worry is that I'm not sure we're going to see that now. Real Madrid got away with winning a match without playing well against a team that was very, very weak. And I'm afraid that in the return leg, we're going to come out walking. We're going to come out walking, and that's always the kiss of death and a very risky thing to do. And if we get past Benfica, I think Benfica is a really... they look so poor tonight compared to what we saw 3 weeks ago. They looked really poor. So this is modest opposition, and we'll probably stumble through. But I don't know. I was just unconvinced with what I saw. I didn't see the intensity level that we need to see. I didn't see the coordination in our play. I didn't see 1-2s. I didn't see automatisms. It was a lot of individual efforts, sort of 1-on-3, 1v4, and then they lose the ball, and then when you recover it in the back, and then you boot it forward and you lose it again. Like there was just no structure in our play, and so I don't know. I think we'll probably advance to the next round, but this is not a Real Madrid that I think is going to go anywhere playing like this. So I hate to to put a damper on things, but it's just, I don't know, I wasn't convinced by this. Anyway, look, if you want my detailed thoughts in terms of the Mad kind of minute by minute, go ahead and do the watch along, which is on my channel. I was very detailed in terms of calling what I saw play by play, but comprehensively speaking, I think this was a very mediocre performance, and nothing to write home about. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I want to thank everybody that joined me in the live stream, which was so much fun, and all the comments were so cool. So for everybody that was with me for that, I just want to say thank you. It was a lot of fun, and we'll keep doing this stuff. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section. A victory. We'll go to bed reasonably happy, but I still have a lot of lingering concerns. All right, let me know what you think in the comment section. Love all of you. It's very late here. Going to go to bed. Love you all, and as always and forever, Real Madrid.